Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it again. Another reaction. Try to post some videos every single week on the YouTube channel. Of course, if you haven't or you're not doing it already, make sure to follow my podcast, Purple Political Breakdown, where I break down political news, have political conversations over there. But what is going on? I want to react to it and give my thoughts. Let's break it down.
I am surrounded by 20 conservatives.
This is Sam Seder's Jubilee conversation. I won't put this at
My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is...
All right, someone was saying that 1.5 was unbearable, apparently, so I'll make it 1.25 to hit that sweet spot, because, you know, these videos be long.
to give corporations more power.
Trump attacks on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power. Very interesting.
All right. Oops, sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right. I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the Democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe.
So, I don't want to attack the portion of the conversation that I know nothing about. I want to just attack DEI. I don't really care about your claim. I want to make my claim. That's just bot behavior right there. That's not respectable. You're here to debate against this guy's opinions, but you're trying to change his, not change his opinion, but you're trying to change the debate so you could just talk crap about DEI. You're pathetic. Do better.
Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole
Right.
attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA,
Sure.
right? You know that.
Right.
In government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being, inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay, but DEIA
Right.
is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that
Right.
have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
Right. And
or let's put out notices around different parts of town,
Sure.
metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
this is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well,
so
then why
everyone gets-
rescind
the
DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like.
So now he's about to just go through a whole narrative, right? Because he actually doesn't know what DEI is. He's going to assume what it is based off things that he was told. That is it. Is there some places that's why a real conversation, someone with brain cells who can actually discuss complicated issues, realize that there's always a give and take of pros and cons, that there's nuance behind it. And when it comes down to it, sometimes certain individuals take DEI too far. Like there was a case, I think, with Walmart when it comes to DEI training. The way that they were teaching it was instilling a mindset in some employees' minds about the being antagonistic to like white people. That can happen, but the overall purpose of it at the end of the day is to give opportunities for those who don't have the opportunity, usually, typically, especially historically in society.
Perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with
Do
corporations.
you have
it
the
devolves-
evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true, proper bases. We can even look
Well,
at.
I mean,
we can even look at.
would you
So true, I have evidence. I'm not going to name the evidence, but I'm going to make a generalized statement of something that might exist. But Bot behavior.
Any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year. There was
Oh
no
my
reason
God,
to nominate
bro.
Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She wasn't. She
Bot.
didn't go through a single primary.
Well,
None
wait
of
a
these
second.
things.
Bot.
So
She
you're
is-
saying that Kamala was the vice president of the United States after
Yes.
the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's a DEI
She wasn't.
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that party.
Do you
You're a
realize
bot.
there
You
were
don't know
not
how
even
it works.
primaries prior to 1972
Well,
in
sure,
the
but
Democratic Party?
this isn't before
Well, I
1972.
understand, but what did
This
you
is,
think you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well,
I mean,
sure,
Joe Biden should have dropped out
but
3 years
even
ago, as far as I'm
before,
concerned.
well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primaries, she didn't. She
Okay.
wasn't the next man up. None of this. She wasn't the next.
This mother effer just read Twitter posts and thinks he knows how government works. Dude is a bot. Bot behavior.
person.
So she was the vice president.
Right, of course, but
Yeah,
she wasn't
that
in
tiny
primaries.
detail. But
Right,
listen,
well,
aside from, I would have might have wanted a different
Absolutely.
candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have folks who identify as as trans, you need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all about.
But you're cherry picking the portions of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues
That's
with
what
making workplaces.
the whole DEI
Yes.
apparatus within our
is-
government
okay.
was a function of doing exactly.
One of the things that I hate that MAGA does is they play this stupid game. Oh yeah, we don't have an issue of the thing that, actually happens. We have an issue of this hypothetical thing that we're told that we're told happens in society. This is probably what happens because I was told by my cult master Big Daddy Trump. But how it actually works, we have no issue on how it actually works. You're freaking bots, bro. MAGA, lock in. Jesus, you fucking
What I
idiots.
said had nothing to do with quotas
It
or
is
even
unfortunate
affirmative
that
action.
those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific
What else
numerical
was he trying
quotas.
to take out with
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into
There is
positions they
no
have no
evidence.
qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That's not true. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up.
You don't have a single example. You're just told this happens. That's why anytime I ask a Trump supporter, give me an example of this happening, the only thing they can name is Kamala Harris. And even though when they name Kamala Harris, they just name Kamala Harris because Donald Trump said she's a DEI hire. They have no idea what exactly how the process works when it comes to being an elected candidate. They're just attaching themselves onto it because it's right in front of their face without having any knowledge on the process. So it's ridiculous, bro.
For you, you can't.
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you. But these are the
How would
problems.
One of the worst things is when you have a strong opinion about something and you have no examples to back up your claim. None. How do you have no examples? No examples to back up your claim when it comes to DEI? And this, I don't know example. I'm trying to think of something I have a strong opinion. Do I have an example? I don't know. I'd have to really think about it, but none. You can't even allude to an example. You don't need to know something fact by fact, but you don't even have a circumstance you remember this happening in.
That conservatives.
Sorry, you've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
See ya.
Okay, so I think the roots issue with DEI.
My brother, he's about to argue against DEI. No! We lost one.
Isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility to people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in practice.
Give me an
It was great in
example.
theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only
Nah, this is a troll. His example for DEI is some studios not hiring white actors. This is a troll. Y'all trolling me. Y'all trolling me. This is not real.
We want this particular kind of gender, race, right? That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about just perpetuating one aspect of, visual compelling aspects. Because at the end,
I would love an example of a DEI policy that was followed by a director or producer or just the staff of the movie that went out of their way and said, I don't want to hire white actors because I think I want to hire this black actor instead, purely because of race. And it better not be something where it's like, oh yeah, I mean, the guy just matches better because of race. Like, he's a black guy. You know what I'm saying? No, this is where the nuance comes in. I don't think it's necessarily part of DEI. It could be. I would be willing to engage in the conversation. It could be. But when Disney was doing the race swapping, just the race swap, I personally don't think it was a DEI thing. I think it was trying to adhere to like the new kind of trend. You know, the cancel culture and the woke stuff was getting unhinged, but it was also very popular. There's a lot of support behind that. And I think they were trying to attach themselves to that. I don't think it was a policy thing, but I could be wrong there. I'm willing to engage in the conversation. I don't just make blind assumptions without being absolutely sure, just like you guys, you MAGA people.
today, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse.
Okay,
and what that is it's moral grandstanding. Is that because we have more black women, we sell better soda, like that.
I got you.
That
What?
is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI orders are. But I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people. My kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about 2 different things.
Well, but I'm talking.
No. Sam is talking about the thing that he is claiming. He's talking about the thing that this entire thing is centered around. He's talking about that. Whatever you're talking about has no relevance to why you're sitting in the chair. Do you know how that works? Or I don't know. Certain things are
About
hard
Trump's
for MAGA.
DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
You're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because again,
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about.
Another big talking point that I hear from MAGA sycophants is, well, the majority of the people, I've never heard that argument. That's a new one that MAGA's attached themselves to. Well, you see, the majority of people voted for Trump, so obviously they don't care. They don't see what you're seeing. I've never heard that argument ever for a single presidential candidate. Ever. That's an interesting one because you have nothing to really back up any bullshit you're saying. So now it's, see, the majority of the people voted in him, even though, at the end of the day, most people are just not informed in politics. They follow Trump because of rhetoric. They follow Trump because of what happened with inflation due to COVID. They follow Trump because of the state of everything that they are told on how it's super, super bad without being informed well enough to realize that we're improving. But yeah.
about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this. And liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden, Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And
You're just making a bunch of shit up. You're using a quote to adhere a conclusion. That's the problem going on right now. When Joe Biden, and you know what, we can look up the exact quote. Let me look up the exact quote for all of us here, so we all could be on the same page, because I know that quote goes around quite frequently in the MAGA circles. What did Joe Biden say verbatim over Kamala Harris being a black woman? Okay, what is... It's gonna be a minute before I find this. I'm gonna look for it on my own. I'm gonna continue the video.
And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
Yes,
Without a doubt.
so why did Democrats move away from that and say no? It wasn't because she was a black woman. My point is
it's not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not. Conservatives aren't saying that there aren't, because again, even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color.
I'm not here to.
You're just saying a bunch of rhetoric, and then when asked for specific examples, you couldn't name anything in terms of actual political attributes. So you just name all these talking points because you're a bot. I'm gonna be honest, it's just bot behavior. Keep it a bean. But your only point that you can really latch onto was that quote that I want to. Before I give a solid opinion, I want to get the official
defend the
words.
Democrats' choice on every policy. But there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that?
don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government? What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald
race?
Trump didn't have to
what
say
does race
my
have
vice
to
president
do?
is going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DEI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DEI on the micro level.
I will tell you right now.
DEI on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better nuggets?
Listen, I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this agency or corporation, you're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans? It's all statutes. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better can defend that point specifically better than.
You just did not know what the fuck you were talking about, so. So this is what Joe Biden said specifically. I am not committing to naming any of the potential candidates, but the people I've named, and among them, there are 4 black women. That is what he said when it came to his candidates. He said he's getting a 2-hour vetting report on each of his potential picks, and his team have gone through about 4 candidates so far. Then when I get all the vetting done on all the candidates, then I'm going to narrow the list, and then we'll see. And then I'm going to make a personal decision with each of the candidates who are left and make a decision. I mean, this is the only quote I found in regards to black women, saying that he has 4 candidates that are left and that they are black women. I'll make this clear. This is my stance on it. I think people have a misconception on like how people are chosen in terms of, being chosen for a job, being chosen for, a position of power, etc., etc. There are a variety of reasons. The thing is, MAGA is unable to think beyond the surface level. Unless someone says something specifically out there and says, I'm doing this because XYZ, they're assuming that there's no other reason besides XYZ. The reality is that there's a lot of times, and you guys definitely know this, where people choose certain people because they're friends with them. Is that discrimination? You could argue it. They pick someone because their family knows that person. Donald Trump is bringing people in for his cabinet that are people married to people he knows or are friends with. So that happens. Is that discrimination? Picking your friends over qualified people? The same premise and principle is there. There are different reasons why you choose people. Now, the baseline at the end of the day is that all the people that are about to get picked need to be qualified. They need to be qualified to get the position that they're about to get. Once they hit that threshold of qualifications, at that point, you look at other either soft skills or you look at other reasons that make them more of a reliable pick. Now, oftentimes that can be a representation pick where you know that they will represent whatever kind of policy or group that you're discussing better because of their culture, because of what they've been through. Or you have a long history with that person, so you know you can trust them to either do the job right or be loyal to you as a worker. There are a variety of reasons why people are instilled into power. So acting like race is not one of them, when historically white men were getting chosen for a bunch of positions because people thought white men were just better at everything than everybody else, is ridiculous. So that was the historical precedent. And then moving forward throughout American history, the people who were more qualified and more educated were white men. It wasn't until obviously later on when we get into the modern century when eventually people of color, people who are women, are now able to get educated and rise in status, but they're still getting looked over because the perception and the stereotype is that they're not as qualified. So we had to do a lot of work to end that stigma, to prove that no, it's not based on race, it's not based on gender. I'm just as qualified as you, and that's why these programs existed, to afford these people the opportunity to get that same thing that a bunch of white men are getting because of that stigma that has been there historically. So now that we're all on the same page, this is how these things work. Now, when Joe Biden went out of his way and said, oh yeah, I have 4 black women candidates, that shows a new era, obviously. It's the same idea that when Obama, he was qualified, and if someone says Obama's not qualified to be president, they're freaking lying and they're racist. I'm not going to lie. He was qualified, but he represented a new era, a new wave, being a black man, being president. We're saying that there are people qualified that is not just older white men. Those people exist. There are different reasons why people vote for different positions. There are different reasons why people are appointed or trust other people. Race, familiarity, a lot of reasons. As long as you can be proven to be qualified, which Kamala Harris has proven, then at that point, other reasons that can help either your political case or help instill a new era in terms of changing a rhetoric and stigma is definitely another bonus point. 100%. Now, choosing someone purely, and I'm going to put this in big quotation marks, purely based off race and nothing else is not okay. It is not okay, and that is the wrong way. That is the wrong way to pick either people for a position or people to be a candidate for whatever X, Y, and Z. So that's how this stuff works. I know a bunch of you people like him on the screen is a fucking idiot who doesn't know actually how people work, but that's how these things and people are chosen. So we understand choosing people purely based off race with no qualifications is not good. Race being a component to determine whether someone should be selected has been going on in the entirety of human history. Chef's kiss right there, you know what I'm saying?
Than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How you doing?
Okay, when it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism?
Yo, what is these ignorant ass MAGA idiots? Move past racism. What the fuck are you talking about? Move past racism. Now, I'll be very clear. I'm one of those people that exist that think that systematic racism is not nearly as big of an issue as it was in the past. But there is also a recognition that there are areas in America that still have that systematic racism implemented, that they will create notions and stereotypes based on their perception on a person and a race. We got black people beating up Asian ladies, and we got white people beating up black people, and it's purely because of race. So why is your ignorant ass saying we move past racism? That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. No, I've heard stupider, but this is the most stupid thing that I've heard today.
So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that.
I'm not in the white supremacy camp. I'm not in there in that by any means. I think the best way I would rebuttal that, do I consider myself racist? No. I don't consider myself racist, but I could definitely stereotype and have a negative stereotype against people. That definitely happens. It would be foolish to think that when I walk down the street that I've never been before in a city and I see a black person or a Hispanic person that is wearing certain clothing, that I'm not going to assume a stereotype. I'm for sure going to assume a stereotype. Same premise if I was walking in like a more country area and I see a guy walking and that dude is very country, burly, maybe even has either an American flag hat, wearing certain stuff, then I'm going to assume a stereotype. So we all assume stereotypes. Now, there's other people that go farther with it, and that's the racist part. That's the racist part. That's what makes you racist.
So I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children. Because children...
Why are we lying? Why are we lying? What is... And yeah, there's a part there in terms of protections for your children. Donald Trump has banned trans people to be in the military. What does that have to do with kids? Tell me. Tell me. What does a trans person going and joining the military have to do with kids? What does trying to overturn conversion gay therapy have to do? Oh, actually, that does have to do with kids. I'm not going to lie. So we're lying. The idea that a lot of MAGA people have in their head is that people who are LGBTQ are pedophiles. That is a notion across the board, that a lot of trans people, a lot of drag people are considered pedophiles to MAGA people. So why are you lying? What you keep lying on this platform about a good chunk of MAGA and conservatives and how they talk about these people. Now, I'm not pro LGBTQ. I'm going to be very clear, not even close. But I also recognize when someone's getting demonized. We don't have to lie about it. We don't have to lie.
Children are being stripped away from
Who's their
parents.
own children? Wait,
Parents?
children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids,
If
of
a
course.
child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18,
So now you're changing your argument. You're like, oh, yeah, we're taking kids from the parents, but also parents shouldn't be able to decide. So at that point, there's nothing that can convince you in terms to trans stuff. The problem is not being like, oh, yeah, I don't believe in trans stuff necessarily. It's the demonization, making it seem like all trans people are terrible, making it seem like trans is not a legitimate like condition. My issue is like the lack of consistency. You don't know what you're talking about. You just want to demonize it and then act like you're on this moral high ground.
18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now, in
Well,
terms of a
I don't know that
DEI
they can,
initiative, the reason why there's military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an
Do you think every freaking person in the military goes out in combat? That's stupid. There's people who are trans that are way more capable in certain areas than other people. Dude, this pisses me off. Do you know what people in the military do? And I'll speak on this because one, I come from a military family and I was in the military. You are not going to tell me about the mental capacity of military people if you don't really know what it's like when you deal with military people, because a lot of them are unhinged and crazy. So we ain't going to start picking and choosing. No trans craziness. No, we ain't having that. You know, they're all just moody, depressed, and insane. But all the other people who are beating their wives, going constant divorces, cheating on their significant other constantly, doing some terrible, terrible shit. Yeah, I'm not talking about those people, though. They can stay in the military. They can stay. Like, it's just, like, people be talking, not knowing what they're talking about, and sound like they're super confident.
ice cooler pack with your, whether that be hormone, estrogen, or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing
Yo, shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And let's be very clear. People in the military also have taken depression pills. There's a lot of depressed. Suicide rate in the military is actually a problem. There's been a lot of meetings in terms of suicide rate. So is the expectation kick all the people out who have suicidal tendencies? Would you see, this is like, it's just a bunch of idiots saying things they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well, we're not-
What are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
Honestly, like, they're rewriting history.
well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this. If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year when you create your tax returns. They give you.
Yo, I hate this guy with a passion. I think he is one of the worst people I've ever heard talk. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's like, it's so frustrating hearing this fucking retarded shit. It's so frustrating hearing people say some of the dumbest things with so much confidence. It's like, what? What are you talking about? DEI is only for tax cuts? Are we serious? Oh my God, bro.
Give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
In government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people
And
of
the other
color.
thing I
This
wanted
is
to,
to
and I,
protect
the other
people
thing I
from
want to
discrimination.
the other thing I want to kind of
So every time this dude debunks everything he's saying, he just moves on because he doesn't care about truth or facts at all. He doesn't. He's a piece of shit. He doesn't care about truth or facts at all. He doesn't even want to engage in anything that he's debunked about.
state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on
DEIA does not is not
it's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
No,
physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination
Discrimination against what?
against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different.
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on merit. And that
Are you, I want to, just give me this. This motherfucker wants jobs to just discriminate against their employees. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? Are you just like, how is Sam Seder? Oh man, Jubilee's not gonna let me to go on their show if I act like this. I need to relax. But like, this is some of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like, what is going on? Why is he so stupid? Why is he being stupid on purpose? It's blowing my mind. I'm going insane listening to this bullshit.
is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the
Not
DEI,
if you get a
if the
tax
DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of
If
these
you
orders
received a
on
tax
these
cut as
agencies.
an employer,
Bro, I swear to God, Sam Seder just said that the government agencies do not receive tax cuts, and you went back to tax cuts. Yo, this guy is evil. He's actually evil. He's actually just one of the worst people. These people, I'm going insane.
wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
If you could pay them less?
listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
Yes,
these are.
they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
Every
parts
private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is
Sam was so done there. He was like, bro, who am I talking to? Wait, what? Is this real? Is this real life? Who am I talking to? Am I in reality right now? Oh my God, bro.
January.
Okay, so we can agree on that. The FDA does not pay taxes. It does not get a tax cut because it doesn't pay taxes. DEIA forces them as an agency to say, if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that. I
part
love
of
me a
society.
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay,
Because you
pause.
feel like you have to. You're pressured to.
Pause.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pressured to hire someone based on skin color.
No, not to hire someone on skin color, but put up notice about that the job exists. Make sure that you put it in different communities so that you have as wide an application pool as possible.
And therefore you get
All
tax
right.
cuts.
All right.
Sam is going insane. He's actually going insane. Now, I did want to look this up, obviously. Can government agencies get tax cuts? No, there's no information about government agencies getting tax cuts. Let me look up tax obligations. So, I'll let this continue.
Return
At
while
the
I
end
read
of the
it.
year when you file taxes, you get a tax cut for hiring someone who speaks a
Please
different
return to your
language or
seat.
different skin color.
I don't know how to respond to that. How you doing?
So I want a little bit more clarification because I don't even know if we got it yet on which part benefits corporations? Like from your
Okay,
perspective.
so agencies, the U.S. government agencies, the vast majority of them, what they function to do is inhibit corporations from essentially externalizing their costs onto society.
Sure.
So the example would be, I used it before, but it's a good one. I'm making Teflon, C8, for instance, okay? And C8 is supposed to be burned because instead of like deposited, because it's a forever chemical. And I can go out and instead of burning it, it's too expensive to burn it, I'm gonna dump it into a river. And the EPA comes in and says, like, you can't do that, we're gonna fine you. You're not allowed to do this. But what the company is doing when they do that is they're gonna take the profits that come with lowering their costs by dumping it into the river, and those costs are then borne by everybody who lives around that river. They're gonna get.
So, I just wanted to make sure, I'm sorry, I paused. So on the states cannot tax the United States and its departments, institutions, and certain other federal entities. This is on Department of Revenue.washington.gov. It's on, I'm looking on another computer, so I can't show it to you right now. Honestly, I could copy and paste, but that's just a lot of work. But basically, look up Department of Revenue, Washington State, U.S. government entities exempt from tax. It basically says no, federal entities do not get taxed. And yeah.
Get cancer, they're going to get gastrointestinal problem, whatever it is. And society bears the cost of that.
Can you connect the dots for me, though? Because it sounds like we're talking about something completely different.
And so the DEIA stuff is just the beginning of demoralizing these agencies and trying to wreck them from the inside. It's all part of like Russell Vote's thing, the OMB, the whole Schedule F, where they get rid of civil servants and they demoralize people and they don't want them to be able to function.
So then would you agree if this is about demoralizing? I mean, over 75 million people voted for Trump, right? He won the popular vote. Do you not think that in part, you even said yourself that Americans don't really know what DEIA is according to your definition of it?
Well, the government's definition of it.
Okay, well, I would argue that the average American is demoralized by what they've seen, the way that the government goes about their DEI policies and the military and other organizations, not just the military.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
Hey,
that would have been
a
way better
conversation. We want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the.
Shout out Straight Arrow News, man.
My next claim is, unless you're a billionaire, a religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake.
Okay, so let's tackle one aspect, religious fundamentalist.
Billionaire, religious fundamentalist, or xenophobic nationalist voting for Trump was a mistake. This will be interesting.
What benefit would religious fundamentalists get? And also, can you define what is a religious fundamentalist?
And maybe you could say more of like a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
In this instance. But things like, the attacks on trans folks, the attacks on a woman's right to choose, the idea that we're going to get stuff like an enhanced RFRA, which is going to mean that if you're a pharmacist and you don't want to provide birth control, you may not have to.
Don't you think you're assuming that
if you believe that public education, we should take that money and pour it into religious schools, you're gonna get a benefit out of a Trump administration.
Yeah, but don't you think you're assuming that the vast majority of Americans who are moderates?
What do you think you're gonna get out of the Trump administration?
Economic relief. That was
what kind of economic relief? They're going to cut Social Security. You're going to have to pay for your parents. They're going to cut when they go after the agencies like they're going after, right? This is outlined in Project 2025. Russ Vought, who's going to be the OMB head, he was the OMB head the first time around. He wrote all the book on this stuff.
Okay, well, you bring up
When you cut agencies and go after them, and you fire all the inspector generals so that they're not being able to make sure that the agencies are working, who do you think profits from that? It's corporations. They're going to go after agencies that make sure your food is not full of botulism, that your air is not full of mercury, that your water is not full of C8. This is what they're going to do. Agencies exist to curb corporations from externalizing their costs and privatizing their profits. So it may be cheaper for a company to dump their chemicals into a river than it is for them to dispose of it in a safe way. And so they get the profits from that, but the costs are borne by society. They're borne by society in the form of like people get cancer. They're borne by society in terms of like we've got to do the cleanup. That's what agencies do.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
That's good.
That guy just sat there and listened. Interesting. He had nothing to rebuttal against what you're saying. I don't know why you went up there.
That's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference.
So what? What are you talking about?
Morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation.
No, that's just an assumption based off your religious grandstanding. Now, it depends where you come up with your morals. Definitely depends on a variety of factors. But assuming that it only can come from religion is just a flawed concept.
Foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist, utilitarian.
I don't really bother myself with.
Yeah, so trying to apply moral ethics based off terms or based off concepts that have existed just to fit in a category and doesn't really make sense, because morals is not, again, it's not a preference, but it is subjective to the realities you've gone through, right? Now, there needs to be a certain level of not unilateral, but agreed upon morals that's in the best interest of society, and that is the hope, right? At the end of the day, you know, there are laws that indicate a certain level of a foundation of morals, such as stealing bad, killing bad. And you would assume, or you would hope, that a lot of people's morals fall in line with that similar premise. Now, obviously, there's context, and that context can only be exacerbated on and really truly dove into based off how you lived your life to understand what that context implies and what it means. So there's much more to the moral conversation than something as simplistic as reading a book on a moral foundation and its moral theories, as well as having a religious background that tells you how to think about moral circumstances and situations. Even those situations rely upon a certain level of understanding and a certain level of experience to contextualize the different points that you apply the morals to. Because I've talked to people who are religious before, and one person can interpret one aspect of scripture different from another and apply a certain level of morals. Someone can go to the extreme when it comes to a notion regarding, you know, not having sex until marriage, or someone can go to the extreme for a different religion in terms of having as many wives as possible, and then someone else can interpret it entirely differently, because there's a very negative parts in different religions that people try to explain away based off how they can contextualize the importance and value of how it adheres to a truly good moral person, especially when it means being closer to God, right? So there's much more to it. So you trying to simplify it doesn't really help any of us, doesn't really prove anything, and it's just stupid.
With being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I
That's such a stupid point. It's not a preference. Oh my God. So this is the problem with, he's literally showing the issue with religious fundamentalists if they think that their religion is the only way to have concrete moral values. That's such a stupid point.
don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
I'm curious to see how you respond.
I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your
not
view.
morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay, so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious.
So the way I would kind of rebuttal that is that at the end of the day, there needs to be logical conclusion to the way that we reach to the point of determining an outcome, right? Now, you can have an evil society. Not for sure. That is 100% possible. But ultimately, when it comes to an individual's morals, and I'm not going to speak on Sam, but I'm going to speak on my own, I always look on what's in the best interest of humanity. And trying to pick at this point in time when it comes to a trans person's rights and whatever explanation they get, if I deem that notion that they're trying to attribute to trans people as a one illogical notion to indicate that they should not have no rights, or if I deem it as evil based on discriminating or based on a certain trait that can be applied in a universal sense to create a more evil society while trying to deteriorate different groups slowly and steadily, then again, I'll deem that morally evil. I can apply that based on knowing that my best interest is in society's interest, more specifically humanity's interest. So a public opinion does not indicate morals. Understanding what a decision is going to do for humanity and society as a whole, and understanding that and articulating that will determine its moral value and its moral weight. So again, a very simplistic way, because morals is not a simplistic concept by any means. Most people don't understand it, or they try to simplify it and play this stupid religious game that he's playing. I'm not saying religion is stupid. I am fine with people who are religious. I have family that's religious.
Foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off
I
of.
believe you can have an ethical framework without
and
religion.
if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates, you have a reproductive dead end, so two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem, I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society has
Should
decided.
implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults,
Wow, he's comparing gay people to pedophiles. This guy is a true piece of shit. Oh, wow. He is a terrible person. Oh, wow. He is perfectly articulating the problem of religious fundamentalists. Like, this piece of garbage on my screen is perfectly articulating why these people are not good. So, good job. You proved Sam Seder's point perfectly. Perfectly.
it's a different thing than.
Okay,
than
so you're okay
playing
with
on
a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest.
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right, there's
for-
duties and obligations that we have, so religion provides those duties. Life isn't about
Well, but
freedom
also
and
I can-
exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and
you
I
just
don't want
admitted,
that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like, you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the
Yes.
idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that?
And no. And this is why I say, under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian.
female. You're
you
right.
have a
You
Christian
won.
nationalist.
He's a
and-
piece of
and
garbage.
So I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage
Yes.
under this.
Sorry, we're going
And
to have
so
more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family.
This guy's evil. He's an evil piece of garbage, bro. He is an evil piece of garbage. You can tell that he goes to an extreme with his religion, and he thinks that only his religion and his values are the right ones. He's a piece of garbage.
family households. Sorry about better
Trans
education.
people, gay people should be outlawed.
should be straight. They should be
Women should be
Piece of garbage.
secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit
right?
to the husbands.
Women
That doesn't
should
mean
submit to the
that doesn't mean they are
husbands.
slaves.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah, I gotta. What is it?
No,
It
I
means
understand.
they are
I
protected.
understand. You
Okay,
gotta
let me ask you.
hire-
Let me ask you.
No.
Should
I
women
want
be
you-
drafted?
listen,
Should women be
listen,
drafted?
Listen, I think
If they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
but
we
I don't want to live in a
My final point is
theocracy.
whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we see a great society. When we see people
What? What? Where? When? The greatest society in history is America, and it's not based on Christian values. What? Where? When? Where? Where's this? Where's this? I'm not. See, I don't want to undermine Christians. I don't want to undermine Christianity. I just hate this guy. I just hate this guy. So I'm kind of lashing out a little bit. This guy's a piece of garbage. I'll leave it at that. I think Christianity is actually really good.
deviate from that, that's where all the problems arise.
All right.
I
pause.
think you are at home in the Trump. Trump
Thank you very
world.
much.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
And people are clapping that too. They're clapping this guy. MAGA's garbage, bro. Jesus.
Sorry, guys. I think I have an issue with the implications of the prompt. I mean, of course, I'll stick on the
Literally, a guy who's a Christian nationalist proved his case, like, in front of us.
religious fundamentalism. I think it's unfair to view Christianity separated from the ideology that Christianity informs, right? You have an ideology that you vote upon because you view it to be the truth that benefits everyone in a society. That's how a democracy works. I, as a Christian, have an ideology that informs my opinions, and I believe that it is the most moral and correct way for a society to function. So I think if we put religious fundamentalism in a box where you say any moral implications that I draw from this, religion is unable to be voted upon, unable to be pushed onto you because simply it's a religion, is unfair to view it that way. Religion is an ideology like all ideologies are. It's you vote away.
I don't mind you. I don't dispute the idea that you could have a religious ideology and want to see it imposed upon others, and it's not inconsistent with my claim. My claim is that Donald Trump is ushering in an element of Christian theocracy that I can't remember his name, and you may be excited about, but I'm not excited about it. I don't think the vast majority of Americans are, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't think this country was set up to be a theocracy, and I find it problematic that it will be, but others will be happy about it.
I think it's unfair as well to label any morals that comes from religion inherently immediately theocratic. Like having a theocracy is something different than having.
I think love thy neighbor is a good precept, and I don't know that we.
Yeah, he's not trying to label all values. He's trying to make it very clear on the not the premise, but the idea or the characterization of Christian nationalists that they would benefit under this society. I don't even think that was the right word, especially considering the example of the guy that showed before.
We should necessarily legislate it, but I think it's a good precept. I think there are things from religion that are good.
Yeah.
I interviewed Desmond Tutu years ago, who said that religion can be, is like a knife. It can be used to spread butter, or it could be used to stab people. But that doesn't mean that I want religious doctrine to be the same as the law of the land. We have a democracy, and it was founded on trying to get out from some type of like religious oppression, which means one religion shouldn't dominate in this country. That's my sense.
Yeah, and I see that, but I think I have an issue with where you would perceive religious doctrine is derived from, right? A guy doesn't, at least in Christianity, a guy doesn't go in a room and come out and say that he has a secret message from God that everyone now has to follow. Religious doctrine is ruled over, it's reasoned over. The same way any ideology is discovered.
I'm not talking about the validity of religious doctrine. I'm talking about religious doctrine supplanting democracy in civil society.
And I'm saying that religious doctrine is democratic inherently. And
What? No, it's not. That's just not true at all. That's not true at all. Why are we lying? Also, Sam is doing a very good job in keeping his composure dealing with MAGA. Shout out to Seder for sure.
In the way that you.
Well, I mean, look, we can have a debate as to whether or not women should be subservient to
Exactly.
men.
Right.
I don't think they should be.
Right.
And in a democracy, I don't think it's healthy.
Right, but when you said earlier with him that someone shouldn't have I don't know the exact word, like a chokehold on what is, religious truth and what isn't religious truth, that's not how religious truth itself works, and that's not how religious truth is brought to the political table to have that work either, right?
I don't know. When Pete Hegseth is in a bar yelling, we're going to kill all Muslims.
Well, that's, yeah.
But now he's in charge of the largest military in the history of the
Sure.
world. And I think, and he is informed by his Christian nationalism. I think that's a problem.
Right. Well, but
we
we
can
don't-
disagree on
Yeah,
that.
we don't take.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thanks,
Please
Sam.
return to your seat.
Yeah, MAGA's looking like a joke right now.
Okay,
Oh my god, bro.
Eleazar, mentioned his views on gay marriage, and I saw that you believe that essentially conservatives don't believe that gay marriage should be allowed. I want to ask everybody in this room, is there any law or legislation that Donald Trump has passed to prohibit same-sex marriage in the last 4 years? Okay. Is there anyone in here who...
There's no way that you just saw what a fellow MAGA guy said. He compared gay people to pedophiles. And your first thing to do is to not only bring up his name, but also defend the stance. You can't, at the very least, go like, I disagree with him, but at least do that. So I know that you actually have a sound mind. At least go, I disagree with him, but. You know how much value that would that you would get from that? From just saying, I disagree with him, but okay.
who would potentially oppose two people kissing in public that are of the same sex? You could raise your hand if you want. Yes, in public, kissing in public. No law against it, just your own opinion. Okay, so these are all people's opinions, right? The same way you have your opinions about Christians is the same way these people are
No,
allowed.
I don't have a problem with Christians.
Well, you do not believe that theology should be at its as a.
We should not have a theocracy.
Correct. And so what I'm saying is, I think that Christianity, I'm a Catholic, I think that Christianity is, fundamentally very important to instill family values in myself as well as every.
Not everybody. Not everybody needs Christianity to instill family values. It's a good means to instill family values. I praise, if done right, it can instill good family values, but it's not the only means.
Every person who wants to have children. Now let's talk about.
I'm okay with that too.
Let's talk about Order 1.
Okay, so you made no fucking point, you fucking idiot.
14,166. That is an executive order that Donald Trump just imposed on identifying what is male and female. So I personally believe as
What does that have to do with any? Yo, I'm skipping this clown. I'm skipping this. Oh, is there a fact check here? I'm skipping this clown. All right, let's have a new person.
Thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a.
Sam.
So I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative.
I'm skipping idiots, bro. I'm just skipping them. They're so stupid.
GOP will destroy Social Security and health care. Nice to see you.
So, what if Social Security should go away?
I hope that some of the more like educated people who voted for Trump because of the false notion that Joe Biden was ruining the country, I hope those like more intelligent people are seeing the unhinged nature of these MAGA supporters and coming to some type of enlightenment. Like I'm pleading to any of these MAGAs with a brain. We're looking at these unhinged MAGA supporters and realizing how bad the MAGA cult is. I'm just like, oh man.
That's my question to you.
Because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essentially a social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
But right now, do you know that it's also the albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
let me just explain this.
Well, you're going to go back to lecturing me about Social Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have.
what we're talking about. Social
Yeah,
Security.
Social Security is one of the top 3 funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are more than $30 trillion in debt.
Well, first of all, Social Security cannot contribute legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the federal deficit every year.
That's correct.
We have
because
30
it's
years.
self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936, you have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time, so the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security, like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has hoarded so much money above the...
Oh. I'm sorry, I should have read the other fact check out loud.
Running out is because wealth inequality.
In 1940, the ratio of covered workers to covered retirees was 159 to 1. Since 2010, the ratio has been below 3 to 1. I don't know how to contextualize this information. The ratio of covered workers to covered retirees. Since 2010, the ratio has been 3 to 1. The ratio of covered workers. Covered workers. So there's less retirees that are covered. Is this what this statistic is telling me? I think no. There's less workers that are getting covered. I'm unsure. There's something that's not clicking in my head right now.
You don't think it's because the government does a terrible job managing their money? They have a huge spending.
With Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to. People haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time, so the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security, like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because the government does a terrible job managing their money? They have a huge spending problem, and they go, look at all this money we have for Social Security that's earmarked for 60 years from now that we're just going to spend on something right now.
40 years ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the government are always right? That's totally the thing that you're saying?
Is that your rebuttal? Yo, I hate MAGA so freaking much. Yo, they are so annoying. Your rebuttal is, oh yeah, you think they're all correct? Are you listening to what Sam is saying? They're not even trying to engage in the conversation because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And when someone educated knows what they're talking about, they don't even dive into the conversation and engage. Like, I would be here absorbing the knowledge and really having a very interesting back and forth. MAGA is so fucking brainwashed. They're so cult mind that their default is to bring up a narrative to try to move away from the reality as much as possible. Like, Jesus Christ.
That they're always correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion debt problem.
The problem isn't the math with the 40 trillion debt problem. It's you have tax
It's the spending problem. I totally agree with you, which I would argue is part of why Social Security's gone in the hole already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from the Social Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law, Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing, the 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is it going down? If everything's so much better, why is it only 78%?
If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000. So, for instance, if you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
a year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into that Social Security?
less than that.
$6,200.
And so why should wealthy
sh-
people hang on? Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
No, they should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on $1 million.
And why should they pay?
Are you fucking stupid? He's actually just not even listening. He's a fucking idiot. There's no way his response to the proportion that Sam was put out is that they paid a higher percentage. That was your response? Like, come on.
Even more money at all? Because they make more money? Again, you fundamentally.
Yes. If someone who makes more money pays the same percentage of someone who makes less money, they're going to put more money into the program. Are you fucking idiot? Are you stupid? Like, do you need to go back and do Algebra 1? Is this like a crazy hard concept? Now, if you want to argue that rich people should be paying less percentage, then that's your prerogative. You want to suck off and deep throat rich people. That's up to you. That's fine. I don't really give a damn what you try to do in your free time and act like a little prostitute. I don't care. But stop being stupid.
Fundamentally have this idea that because you have an idea that because somebody makes more money, that's fundamentally wrong, right?
No, I don't think it's fundamentally wrong. I think that they should pay more taxes into it. Now, I do think as a society, we should not allow billionaires. So, for instance,
they can pay more taxes generally, but why should
the highest tax rate was and the greatest expansion of our economy in this country?
Does a billionaire get more money from Social Security if they went to go take it than I would?
No,
of course not. So why should they pay more?
I'll tell you why. Because it is a social insurance program that keeps you from being in poverty when you're.
Go. He's sucking off the